Ms. Hazel Poa.
Madam Deputy Speaker, road traffic regulations play a very important role in protecting the safety and well-being of our vulnerable road users in our neighbourhoods, including the elderly and young children. As such, PSP has some concerns with the proposed amendments to the Road Traffic Act that we hope the government can address today. Members of the public have expressed concern about the removal of the mandatory minimum jail term and mandatory minimum disqualification period for first-time offenders, even in cases of reckless or dangerous driving leading to death. PSP agrees with these concerns. The government's justification for making these amendments is that the current mandated minimums are too harsh and may cause some drivers to be overly punished as a result. However, it is important to note that Section 64 on reckless and dangerous driving already carries a higher level of culpability than driving without due care and attention in Section 65. Drivers who run red lights or drive recklessly at dangerous speeds are knowingly and willfully putting other road users at risk. In justifying the amendment, the Ministry of Home Affairs have shared several examples where the current laws as applied would be too harsh. Two can be found in Annex A from the MHA's press release to the bill published on 11th November 2024. Another can be found in MHA's response on 29th of November 2024 to letters from the public on the Straits Times Forum. As it is currently not clear if these cases are purely hypothetical or based on actual cases, can the Minister clarify whether these examples are based on actual cases? Furthermore, none of these cases mentioned involved fatalities as a result of dangerous or reckless, careless driving. Will the Minister be able to share with this House some recent cases of dangerous driving leading to death where they believed the mandated minimum jail term of 2 years was too harsh? Many Singaporeans are baffled by the timing of this decision to do away with mandatory minimum penalties. Online and offline, many members of the public have shared that the proposed changes would make the roads feel less safe for themselves, especially pedestrians and cyclists, and are concerned that the change will lead to a rise in the number of dangerous driving cases. These concerns are understandable given that there has been an increasing trend in the number of fatal accidents in recent years. The mandatory minimum sentences for dangerous driving causing death or grievous hurt have been introduced in 2019 in order to increase the sentencing norms for irresponsible driving offences and to avoid manifestly inadequate jail sentences for egregious offences. During the second reading debate at that time, Second Minister for Home Affairs, Mrs. Josephine Teo, said that irresponsible driving remained a big concern. She said, and I quote, "Why is this a problem? Because irresponsible driving can have deadly consequences. Even if victims survive the accident, they or their families may suffer long-term problems, sometimes medical, sometimes permanent disabilities," unquote. From time to time, we hear of terrible tragedies on the road. Last year, on 22nd April, a driver sped and ran a red light in Tampines. 6 vehicles were involved in the accident, and 2 people died. Madam Nozihan Juwahib had just bought a new flat and celebrated Hari Raya there the day before the accident. Afifa Munira Muhammad Azril was a 17-year-old student at Temasek Junior College, was described as a high flyer in school. Their lives came to a tragic end because of irresponsible driving. Strong deterrence is needed against irresponsible driving behaviours leading to death, which is irreversible. In 2019, Mrs. Teo said, quote, "Motorists who have a blatant disregard for the safety of other road users should be severely punished," unquote. And, quote, "To make our roads safer, we need stronger deterrence against irresponsible driving," unquote. So why is there an apparent policy U-turn by the government today with the removal of mandatory minimum jail terms for first-time offenders, even in cases of reckless or dangerous driving leading to death? Based on figures from the Singapore Police Force, the number of fatal accidents dropped in 2020 when compared to 2019, but thereafter increased every year from 2021 to 2023. And in its mid-year report in August 2024, it was revealed that when comparing the first half of 2024 with the first half of 2023, the number of traffic accident fatalities increased by 2.8%, and the number of fatal speeding accidents almost doubled from 13 to 25. Last year, we debated the issue of dangerous driving in this House after the six-vehicle crash in Tampines on 22nd April 2024, where a driver sped, ran a red light, and caused the tragic death of two persons. At the time, the government rejected calls to consider introducing stiffer penalties for road traffic offences. And now we hear that the government is in fact going to do the opposite by removing the mandatory minimum penalties for first-time offenders. As we work towards a car-light society where the privilege of owning and driving a car is for the minority, we must consider the interest of road users who are not motorists. By retaining mandatory minimum jail terms, we send a clear message to motorists that they have the responsibility for helping to keep other road users safe, and there would be serious consequences should they willfully fail to do so. We support the other amendments in the bill, which include streamlining the commencement dates of disqualification periods and strengthening the traffic police suspension powers. However, PSP cannot support the amendment to remove mandatory minimum sentence and mandatory minimum disqualification periods for first-time offenders at a time of rising traffic fatalities and fatal speeding accidents. We urge the government to maintain the current mandatory penalties in cases of reckless or dangerous driving leading to death. Madam Deputy Speaker, in Mandarin, please. 今天二读的公路交通修正法案欲删除第一次犯下危险或疏忽驾驶而导致他人死亡或重伤的人所面对的强制性最低监禁期和执照吊销期。前进党无法支持这项改变。根据警方的数据，从2020年到2023年，致命交通事故数量明显上升。若我们比较2024年上半年和2023年上半年的数据，交通事故的死亡人数增加了2.8%，而致命超速事故则从13起增加到25起，几乎翻倍。许多国人因此对公路安全甚感担忧。政府在2019年为鲁莽驾驶行为实施强制性最低惩罚。当时内政部第二部长杨立明说，公然无视其他公路使用者安全的驾车人士应受到严惩。他也说，为了使我们的道路更安全，我们需要加强阻吓不负责任的驾驶行为。那为什么政府如今在公路安全恶化的同时，要降低这个政策的威慑性呢？前进党反对这项修订。Madam, we oppose the bill in its current form, but will support the bill if amendments are made to retain the current mandatory penalties for reckless or dangerous driving leading to death.